Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. We're talking about San Bernardino. We're going to talk about the president's response. President Obama came on, interrupted primetime Sunday night for about 13 minutes, I think, is 15, something around there, to give an address about San Bernardino and terrorism. And he came out and I think within the first couple of minutes called what happened out there an act of terror. I don't know. It seems like it, right? I mean, the looking into the history of the wife, especially, she had links to some problematic people. I think that the husband might have even been on a no-fly list. I think I saw that or their names were on a watch list or something.
Yeah, they were on a watch list, not a no-fly list.
Maybe no-fly list. Yeah. So people knew about, and that's the problem. Once again, is that because that was similar with the guy that orchestrated Paris, is that authorities know these people, but the way that our system of government seems to work, you saw a lot of folks kind of bemoaning this, was we have a constitution, we have a certain amount of protections for people, and we don't really go after them unless they do something, and then once they do something, it's too late. And so what did you think of the president's response to this? Do you agree with him that it was an act of terror? Let's start there.
I would say yes. I know I got into a lot of arguments with the Planned Parenthood shooting in Colorado because a lot of lefties characterize that as terror. But this had a different design and a different motive behind it. And basically that is how you define what terror is. Particularly when they're talking about, ISIS is right and, America sucks and the rest of the stuff. Apparently in this manifesto that Facebook apparently took it off and the FBI went and got it. So, and all the information we have at this point is going to be sketchy. What we're saying with our opinion here is based upon what has been repeated several times and what the powers that be have said, the FBI and the president. I do believe it was an act of terror.
But you also say it was different.
It is different because usually let me clarify. This is different than previous straight-on terror attacks in that these people knew their victims.
Is that significant to you?
That's as a psychiatrist, it's very significant. It's much easier to kill people you don't know than it is people you do know. That's why we call, Vietnamese gooks and, the Germans krauts and the rest of it. Dehumanizes them. Well, these people knew their victims. That is significant for me. So whatever happened, it was a rageful response by these two people. And it was clearly premeditated and thought out because he gave the baby to grandma. So I think that's significant. I think the president's, I'm going to disagree with some of my conservative friends. I thought President Obama gave the speech that he had to give. There's some hawks in the party that said he didn't go far enough. And being a hawk in the party myself, I would agree in some ways. He also threw out a bone to the lefties and said, hey, listen, we're going to go out and grab some guns again. All right. So all those things were fairly expected. What I liked hearing for the first time is, listen, we need help from the Muslim community.
He says that all the time.
Yeah, but this is the first time he's gotten right up there and said, we can't do this alone.
No, he said it at least there's an NPR thing that hasn't said it he said it 6 times throughout his administration. That's why the Muslim community is so up in arms with him, because he keeps saying it. He said that hey, this isn't our fault. We don't condemn all Christians. That you read that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he says it all the time, but I understand the point you're trying to make.
But yeah, this is he almost interrupted a football game. And that's in America, that's a big deal. And I think what I heard him say is not what a lot of my conservative friends heard him say. What I heard him say is, we're going to continue to drone the heck out of everybody. Number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, because of who we are as a nation, we will be victorious. And three, what I heard him say is, we cannot continue to isolate the Muslim community, and they have to start stepping forward to help us. Just today, I was reading an article today that one of the former FBI directors had said the entire time that he was in the FBI, and that's 20 some odd years, the Muslims never helped on any case that we had. They never turned over anybody. They never turned over any evidence. They're very tight-lipped and closed-mouthed. Now, that's one person's perspective. And I believe maybe he's going a little bit to the extreme, but I believe they're very closed-mouthed about stuff. Imagine being a vast minority in a country where basically, we had 300 million people, and there's 3-4 million Muslims. That's the last time I checked, and that's been a couple of years, but it's not a whole lot. And you're like, well, hold on. If you're that badly outnumbered, right, you're going to get kind of a sense of having to bunker in, particularly if your country that you're living in is perceived, whether it's correct or not, but is perceived to be at war with Islam in a lot of other countries.
Except that Muslims living in America, I mean, it's pretty widely reported and it's pretty widely argued by just about everybody that we, as far as people of the Muslim faith that are Americans, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking mostly about how the U.S. has treated people of the Muslim faith that have moved here, that have immigrated to the country, and that we do a much better job of setting folks up and assimilating them than they're treated in Great Britain or Paris or even Germany to a certain degree, other places around Europe, that America does a better job. And you hear interviews all the time of folks who immigrate to this country saying, boy, we were in Europe for a while, and we never felt like we belonged, and we come to America and you guys are so nice and so welcoming. This isn't a rah America thing that I'm saying here, but I think that we have the tools, and what you really don't like to see is giving in to the kind of fear that these terrorists seem to want to inspire in us. That's what I see when I see a thing like Trump come out and say we have to shut down mosques, we have to ban all Muslim travel in the country, and going so far as saying he wants to register people of the Muslim faith and round them up. He confirmed that at this point. That whole reporter thing, that was a gotcha to the extreme, but he didn't back away from it, and then he confirmed it when somebody else asked him to clarify. Well, I mean, that's the kind of fear he's speaking to. I think that Donald Trump, we're going to move to this point, I think Donald Trump is an opportunist. I don't think he's being serious. I think that he's a panderer, and I think he's a clown when it comes to this kind of thing. Don't get me wrong. But I think he's speaking to a legitimate fear and a legitimate anger. You saw people there. You saw the picture of the woman in the hijab walking down the street here in California with a guy with a bandana over his face and an automatic rifle following her. You saw that. Yeah. I mean, there is a legitimate fear and terror in this country that I think he's speaking to. I think it's irresponsible, and I think it's reckless.
Well, and we're gonna finish this segment by me saying this. We all know Donald Trump used to be a Democrat, and I think right now with the internment program that he's got going on, he's showing his Democratic colors. Because keep in mind, everybody likes pointing at the Japanese American done by a Democrat. Jimmy Carter banned the Iranians coming in, Democratic idea. He's just showing his true Democratic colors. Now, that's what I'm going to say about it. What are we going to talk about next segment? We're going to continue on our discussion
about Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz Democrats, because they're basically saying a lot of the same things that he's saying.
What I'm saying, we have to go to commercial now, so we're going to be back right after the break, and we're going to continue to talk about San Bernardino and the Democrats' relentless strike against the Second Amendment. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Be back right after this break.